Hello everyone. I thought I would do another video today and try and clarify some things I said on my last video. It turned out to be quite controversial. So for those who have been following me for some time, you know that I'm a researcher and I've researched a lot in the area of the LGBTQ and trans phenomenon. And because I choose to look a little deeper in some of these issues, what I have found is definitely counter to the cultural perception and to the academic field. So that's an interesting thing in itself, but I won't go into that very deeply. One of the things I want to say to you, though, is I'm highly committed to exposing the darkness and to speaking truth. And things came to I guess came to light for me in the area of freedom in Canada when Jordan Peterson, who was on the same trajectory as I was with this whole transgender and compelled speech, started to really speak out in 2016. And he saw the same things that I was seeing. And I paid attention. So he was speaking about compelled speech, the lack of freedoms in this country, and he also said the church needs to pay attention. Yes, we do. So I do want to clarify some of the things from my last video. First of all, the WHO, their death by flu statistics of 250 to 650,000 approximately per year that I said is actually per flu season year. It's not the calendar year, it's from November to April. And yes, worldwide, COVID numbers are still far below this regular predicted flu season death statistic. Does that mean there couldn't be more deaths by COVID? Absolutely not. Of course there could be. We know that. And some that haven't been reported. But the opposite is also possibly true, and that there are deaths being recorded and applied to COVID that are not actually caused by COVID. And you can check that out for yourself. The issue I wanted to talk about is one of control. I talked about neighbors phoning the police on neighbors who were doing everything within the law. And yet their neighbors were still phoning the police. That scares me, and it should scare all of us. Last week, a 17-year-old Ottawa youth was fined $700 for shooting hoops at an outdoor center. No one around. No one with him, no one around him. And the bylaw officers asked for his ID. He didn't have any on him. He's 17. He's out, playing basketball by himself. He didn't have that. He apologized when they told him he couldn't be there and said, "I'll go right home right now." That wasn't good enough. The bylaw officers called the Ottawa police, who then in turn fined him $700 for simply being outside by himself shooting some hoops. If you don't see a problem in this, I suggest you look deeper and check some things that are happening. So his father told CBC that this was absolute bullying and disgusting. I think so. So I want to give you some other stuff and then talk about Sweden. The New Zealand police are now allowed to enter homes, private homes, to check on self-isolation, if you are isolating properly. And they are employing drones to make sure that people are self-isolating. Is this really about self-isolation and COVID? That's what I'm asking. Is it really? Well, I want to tell you about Sweden. I've been watching Sweden for a month or so because I'm going, what's going to happen with Sweden? Because when the world went into lockdown, Sweden didn't. They decided to do something different. So their cities, their schools, their restaurants are all still open. Of course, by critics, this was judged to be just absolute foolishness. And the critics declared the virus would spread to tens of thousands. There'd be tens of thousands of deaths, and it would grow faster than anywhere else in the world. So, unlike other countries, though, they don't have anyone going around asking for their papers when they move around in the city or when they're outdoors. In fact, they encourage their people to be outdoors. Police don't stop and ask, if you're doing something wrong just because you're outdoors. In fact, they encourage it. And no one is prying open shopping bags, and yes, this is happening, to see if you're buying only the essentials. Is that what COVID is about, or is that about control? Anyway, so Sweden's top public health agency have kept their cool, and they still don't recommend lockdown. So that's interesting. Yet they've had success. So that's why I'm telling you this. Yet a group of 22 scientists made the charge that perhaps Sweden's refusal to fall in line is because the public health agency are a bunch of Philistines. Interesting comment. So let's call names. They appeal to the government, these scientists, to rein in these ignorant officials at the public health agency. And why? As of Monday, the total deaths in Sweden were 1,580. Let me say that again. Total deaths in this whole pandemic, 1,580. And the daily deaths have remained stable at 75 for quite a while. And now it's starting to decline. Now, more deaths are inevitable. They're saying that. Death is inevitable. But the death toll is far and away beneath the alarmist predictions of 80 to 90,000 people dying in Sweden before the summer. Our recent tests suggested that 11% of the population is actually, they've actually developed antibodies. So this is a good thing, to the virus. And a professor who is leading these tests says that the rate is most likely to be substantially higher. So Professor Tim Brighton said in his study that was just released last weekend that between 25 and 40% of Stockholm residents have had the virus, and the region will reach herd immunity in late May. So this means that there is going to be a resilience and a resistance, which comes through with all of these things in the past. The economic outlook in Sweden is totally different. They are sensationally positive when compared to the rest of the world. And even though many of their factories have had to close because of the global lockdown, they can't access parts and they can't ship things out. So here's what a journalist, a French journalist, said recently, very recently, who had been commenting negatively on Sweden. And he said, almost sheepishly, that it's almost as if we wanted Sweden to fail. Then we would know it was them and not us who have it wrong. So there you go. I'm just trying to set the record straight. And thank you. I listened to your comments. I can't respond to all of them, but I just want you to take more things than just COVID into this big picture, because there is a bigger picture and it's dark. I'll talk some more next time. Thank you.